On this edition of Time About the Movies, as we say goodbye to the 2000s and get ready to start a brand new decade, I think it's time for a little bit of a change in how we do things around here. The reviews will stay the same. The format will change a little bit here, as you're about to find out. But before we can handle the brand new movies of the new decade ahead, we have a couple of more movies from the past decade that I still have to look at. It's the 2009 leftovers today on Time About the Movies. And welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. And as you can tell, we're changing our format a little bit here as we're beginning a brand new decade of movies. Of course, we are starting the 2010s coming up here, and as I said before, we are starting to change things a little bit around here. It's going to be the same format as usually is, my quick reviews on some of the big new releases of the weeks that we are covering here. And as we're doing here on this show, New Year's Day 2010, January 1st, 2010, not a whole lot of new releases, and we're not going to get to the first big new releases of the new year until the next week that we'll take a look at tomorrow, but that means we take a look at the 2009 leftovers. And the leftovers this year mostly are direct-to-video movies, and actually they all are direct-to-video movies, with a couple of exceptions of some films that were intended for theatrical release, but yeah, they eventually got shipped off to DVD. Which one of them is a holiday classic now, so take that for what you will. But we have 12 movies to get to here. We're going to get right to it, but before we do that, I'd like to ask you, if you like this video here and you want to see more of them like this, go ahead and hit that like button below, hit the subscribe button below, and also wait until the end of the video to check out some of the other episodes we've done as well. And yeah, changing the format around here, we'll see how this works, but let's get right to it. Let's start off with the first film I have on the list here. That's Sean William Scott starring in Balls Out, Gary the Tennis Coach.
At Lincoln West.
That was terrible. Watch your head.
A team without a future.
The tennis team is obviously causing problems.
Is about to be inspired.
Little help?
By a man with a past.
You want the long or the short version? I like them short. She's really hot.
Miss Sanchez. She's from Argentina.
I like the sexy fingers.
What is it this time?
I'm pregnant, and I mean running for an abortion.
Sean William Scott.
It's just a little yellow ball.
Quick.
That's what puts hair on a man's balls.
A perch! That's what we need!
Balls Out, Gary the Tennis Coach.
So as you can tell, this is basically a Will Ferrell sports comedy, except you take Will Ferrell out of the picture and replace him with Stifler from American Pie, where he plays an overzealous high school janitor who has not recovered from his failed career as a tennis pro, but beginning to coach his beloved sport to a group of misfits after the high school tennis coach, played by Randy Quaid, drops dead. With his unorthodox coaching style, Gary must try and lead them to the Nebraska State championships, and insert your typical underdog sports story here. I mean, this is pretty much what this movie is, but at the same time, though, it's a pretty good movie. It actually is a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I mean, it's not the best movie overall, but it is a very silly but fun movie overall. Sean William Scott clearly is having the time of his life with this role here, and like I said, it's basically a Will Ferrell sports comedy role, except Will Ferrell's not in there, and you replace it with Stifler, and he does it very well here. I thought it was actually kind of fun. The comedy overall is pretty solid. It is what it is. It's not asking you to be anything. It's not asking you to give it more credit than it actually is. It knows exactly what it is, and I think because of that, it definitely delivers on what it promises. And notably, this is the last film directed by Danny Weiner, who did directed Sean William Scott before in Dude, Where's My Car? And he also did Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. And this is the last film he did. He passed away about 8 years later of cancer in 2018, which I did not know that until just looking up here now, which that kind of sucks for him. But hey, at least he ends his career on a little bit of a good note here. I like this movie. Good. Balls Out, Gary the Tennis Coach. It is what it is. It's nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but it delivers what it promises. So there you go. That's Balls Out, Gary the Tennis Coach. So as I look at my list here, we move on to a couple of films from Paramount, because Paramount looked at what Disney and Warner Brothers and even Universal were doing and said, like, well, shit, if they could take direct-to-video, make sequels off of their If they can make direct-to-video sequels off of their movies, then why can't us? Let's see what we got on the table here. Let's start off with Road Trip. Road Trip was a big success back in the day. Here's the sequel to Road Trip Beer Pong.
If you're looking for a good time, just say the magic words. Road trip! Awesome! Road Trip Beer Pong.
So this is, of course, based off of the 2000 comedy, which starred Breckenmeyer, Sean William Scott once again, Tom Green, and also DJ Qualls. He's the only one who actually returns for this movie. Actually, I take that back. There's one other person in this movie, and that's the tour guide mother from the first movie. She's back in this film. But you have 3 college roommates, not the same characters from the first movie, who join a bus full of gorgeous models and travels the country to compete in a national beer pong championship. With a busload of attractive women, who knows how much fun they could have. Yeah, insert a description that the studio thinks is going to sell people on it, and no, it really doesn't. Besides DJ Qualls and the tour group mom here, Rhoda Griffiths, the only other notable names in this movie are Juliana Gill, who was in Friday the 13th and also was on Dancing with the Stars, and she was on something else too. I think Gossip Girl? I could have sworn she was on something else. One Tree... No, I guess not. Maybe she wasn't on Gossip Girl. I mean, she was in some stuff that was... I think her most notable movie at that point was Friday the 13th. But then again, she was in some other shows like CSI, How I Met Your Mother. But also Danny Pudi, who later go on to become Abed on Community. And then there's Preston Jones, who is an actor that has not gone on to really do anything too much. I'm just reading off of Wikipedia because of the highlighted actors here. But you also have Michael Trotter, Nestor Aaron Absera, and... I mean, yeah, it is pretty much what you think it is. It's a lackluster direct-to-video sequel that is trying to capture the same spirit as the original Road Trip did, but the original Road Trip was actually much funnier, much more clever. This one really is not. This is kind of a lame sequel, and one of those sequels that you could probably tell is a sequel that has no real connection to Road Trip except for the fact that DJ Qualls and the tour guide mom are back on it, and they probably had a different movie around it, and they basically just reshot everything so it connects to the original film when it really doesn't per se. In fact, we're going to look at these movies from Paramount, and I think most of them are kind of like that. But, yeah, not much more to say about Road Trip Beer Pong, so let's see if Without a Paddle, Nature's Calling is the same thing.
If you thought you survived the river, made it through the night, and you were out of the woods, you're in for a surprise. Return to the great outdoors. Without a Paddle, Nature's Calling is coming to DVD.
Yeah, it's probably not a good sign when the first half of your trailer is literally just showing the original film all over again. I mean, it literally says on the bottom, buy the original Without a Paddle, now on DVD, and it's just like, I mean, that should pretty much tell you everything you know about this. But hey, it's directed by the guy who did Eight-Legged Freaks. I mean, that was something. And for some reason, Jerry Rice is in here. The Jerry Rice, not playing himself, playing a character in this movie, which is really odd. Like, it really does not make any sense why Jerry Rice is in here. I guess because the original film had Burt Reynolds in it, but at least Burt Reynolds was connected to the storyline in that movie. Here, I really don't know what the hell he was doing in this movie, but in this film, you have Ben and Zach, who are childhood friends, who reunite years later to take part in an unusual quest that involves traveling into the woods in search of Ben's high school sweetheart. They're joined by their British rival, Nigel, and as the stakes get higher and the squirrels turn hostile, the hapless trio attempts to navigate a raging river while realizing that sometimes nature isn't all it's cracked up to be. Yeah, this is another one of those movies where you could just like with Road Trip Beer Pong, you could tell this was a film that was not really meant to connect to Road Trip to Without a Paddle whatsoever. This is probably another movie they had, and Paramount saw it and said, hey, we made a movie called Without a Paddle, which was successful, but not enough to become memorable per se. We could make a sequel off of this and clearly try to sell it off, and just like with Road Trip, it really isn't all that good. I mean, it's actually pretty lazy when you take a look at it per se. Yeah, I think Entertainment Weekly summed it up here. It's the most unnecessary sequel, one of the most unnecessary sequels ever. I would say it's the most unnecessary sequel, but there have been more than unnecessary sequels out there. I mean, you don't even need to go direct to DVD. We have so many right now in theaters at this point, like, or coming out. Like, who the hell is asking for a Now You See Me 3? Like, who the hell was looking at this, looking at the movies and saying, you know what this country really needs? Freakier Friday. Hey, you know what people have been dying for so many years? Practical Magic 2. Or, hey, I got an idea. We just pushed back Avengers Doomsday to Christmas of 2026. So we need a big blockbuster to open up the summer 26 movie season. What are we going to have out there? I've got it. The Devil Wears Prada 2. So yeah, it's a trend that has continued ever since this movie's come out. And it's still on the big screen too, because nostalgia's sake, and it's just like, get the hell out of here with that, and just Without a Paddle Nature. So anyway, Without a Paddle Nature's Calling, pretty lackluster. I mean, it is not that good of a movie. And you know, I've got one more Paramount film here, and compared to the other two, Road Trip and Without a Paddle, this last one's actually probably the best one of the bunch. Even then, it's not all that great. But hey, Van Wilder freshman year.
Get ready for Van Wilder freshman year.
Hello, Van Wilder, chairman of freshman relations, self-appointed.
Well, Mr. Wilder, while you're here, you'll follow Reardon's rule. No drinking and no partying, period.
More girls. More beer.
You wouldn't happen to have a pale ale on tap, would ya?
Freshman year.
I bet you've never had to work a hard day in your life.
Depends on what you mean by hard.
Van Wilder freshman year.
Why is Paramount making a Van Wilder sequel? They didn't release the original Van Wilder. Van Wilder was a Lionsgate release, and the sequel they did make, The Rise of Taj, which is the official sequel because that's Cal Penn in it, was released by MGM, aka Fox, because that was when they were under Fox's regime. So now we have this one from Paramount, and you gotta love how the trailer is so lazy that it can't even put the last line of the following preview in the right indent. Ordinarily it would stop at by the Motion Picture Association of America, but then you have that comma ink. Like usually they push it a little bit so it's closer to the trailer card, but nope, not this movie. But surprisingly, this is actually the better of the three films that we talked about from Paramount Famous, which isn't really saying a whole lot in general. Just like All the Men in His Family, high school student Van Wilder, played here by Jonathan Bennett, even before becoming the popular party animal of Coolidge College in 2002's Van Wilder, was already a sexual champion. As he sets foot in the campus of a cocky freshman, Van is shocked to discover that strict Dean Reardon, played by Kurt Fuller, rules the place with an iron fist, restricting alcohol, drugs, and all things sexy. Now Van must put his charm and wits to good use and do everything in his power to escape from the Dean's ROTC program and get Caitlin, played by Kristen Cavallari from The Hills, the hottest girl in school. Has Van what it takes to become a hero? I don't know about that, but yeah, this is supposed to be a prequel to Van Wilder. Yeah, we could stop that right now. You could just say that it's just a retread of Van Wilder, but as I said before, this actually is not as bad as you would think it is. I mean, it's not a good movie, but compared to what we just looked at with Road Trip and Without a Paddle, I mean, this is like Citizen Kane in my comparison. But I think it's because they actually have good actors in here who actually do carry the load here. Jonathan Bennett does a pretty good job as Van Wilder, even though he is clearly mimicking Ryan Reynolds' style here. I mean, he's given it his all in here, and I like Kristen Cavallari, surprisingly. I thought she was actually kind of fun in here. You have Steve Talley in here as well as kind of the antagonist here. Kurt Fuller can be fun here too as the dean. I mean, and Lyndon Ashby plays Van Wilder's father in here, which is overall fine here. Like everything, like I said, is fine with this movie in general. It is a film that is what it is. Like, you go into it, you have to go, it's one of these ones you got to go into it knowing what you're going in for. And considering that I have seen all three Van Wilder movies, I can honestly tell you that this actually is better than The Rise of Taj, even though that was the one that went direct to the theaters, and that was the one that had the bigger names attached to it. Like, this one is at least trying to have some fun with its idea here, but not really enough to say that it's a great film overall. I say if you go into it with the right mindset, if you see it in the stores like dirt cheap, like if you see it like a thrift store or something for like $1 or so, it's worth getting it just for that. That's probably not the best endorsement I can give to the film, but hey, it beats the crap out of Road Trip and Without a Paddle. I mean, you can pretty much tell that Paramount Famous was not going to stick around for too much longer. And sure enough, it didn't last very long. I mean, after these 3 films came out, they only made 4 other movies that weren't sequels except for Mean Girls 2 at the end. And, yeah, you can pretty much tell that this thing came and went so quickly. Like, they had no intentions on this becoming a trend, so there you go. That's that's the 3 films from Paramount Famous Productions, the 3 big sequels from them. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next direct-to-video sequel I have here, and that is Spring Breakdown.
Buy a cookie. All proceeds will support promiscuity and public nudity.
Senior spring, Ash, and I want to be with the girl who parties.
When Ashley lost her boyfriend, she found the perfect way
I am going to South Padre.
to get him back. But when your mom is the most powerful woman in Washington,
If the press catches her acting out, you're sunk. It'll be Bush Twins, the sequel.
there's always someone
Betty, you're going to spring break, girl.
I am?
watching your back.
I want to go with you, Becky. You do? Let's go. We never went to spring break in college.
So overall in this movie, the story is that you have the vice president resignation over a scandal, and a senator, played by Jane Lynch, who's first in line to succeed him. The only likely skeleton in her closet is her teenage daughter, Ashley, who's on a spring break with her sorority in Texas while reputed South Padre Island. Trying to act cool in a desperate attempt to win back sturdy boyfriend William, who dumped her for a potential party animal. So the senator sends nerdy junior assistant Becky St. Germain, played by Parker Posey, as chaperone. Becky takes along her former college friends, played by Amy Poehler and Rachel Dratch, all refused by sororities and meeting for an annual joint holiday. For once, it will be tame but frightfully exciting, making up for those wasted wild years. Joining the party scene with their Libertine motel host and the Seven, a group of popular airheads who adopt the dog coach from the adult bunch of dance coach, one old girl even attempts to seduce the hottest frat boy, Gentleman Todd, which seems to work. And this was one of those movies that was originally intended to be a theatrical release. This was originally sold by... This actually started shooting back in 2006 and was supposed to go to theaters through Warner Independent Pictures, but that studio basically shut down, so Warner Brothers just basically put it on the shelf. And then they decided to release it to video 3 years later, and quickly kind of came and went. And you could kind of see why when you look at the trailer for it and you watch the film itself. It really isn't that strong of a movie, and you could at least tell that they were trying to make this a big theatrical release, and it just didn't work out that way. It's not a bad movie per se, but it definitely is a film that clearly was one where they realized this ain't working here. And despite, the best efforts by Amy Poehler, Parker Posey, Rachel Dratch, this is not a bad cast here. Amber Tamlin, Seth Meyers, Sophie Monk, Jonathan Sadowski, Missy Pyle, Jane Lynch. You have Will Arnett in here as well. I mean, this is a good cast overall here, and a good idea overall, but it just really felt like they were kind of stuck on what direction this was supposed to go in terms of the story. Like, there really isn't anything too amazing about it per se. You get a couple of decent lines here and there, but overall, it's just not enough to save the film overall. I think it's a film that just really didn't live up to all the hype that it really could have had to it. I think like there could have been something special there, but I think Warner Brothers kind of knew this was dead on arrival, so yeah, unfortunately, it's a skip on that one. Not a bad movie, just not a great film either, So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at another direct-to-DVD sequel. This time, it's the sequel to Waiting, Still Waiting.
Hey, Natasha, what time to get off tonight?
I'm not working tonight.
Oh, that sucks.
Avenue, go plot your next date in the kitchen or your station's gonna be empty all night.
Hello, Naomi.
Welcome to Tata's. I've got a table waiting just for you.
From the guys that brought you Waiting comes the saucy sequel.
Oh, yeah! I care about you too much to let you work there. I don't want you to be groped inappropriately, except by me. Ow! You'll be working at Serpopolis in a year!
So on the last night of the fiscal quarter, Dennis, played by John Michael Higgins, who's the manager now of Shenanigans, will be promoted to district manager if the restaurant sells $9,000 worth of food or more. To motivate the crew, Dennis tells them that the restaurant will close if they do not meet this goal. The biggest competition is next door, Tata's, which is basically just Hooters. but they can't use that name per se. A bar with scantily clad waitress managed by the self-confident Calvin, played by Rob Benedict. At Tata's, it is Allison's first day. Allison being played by Maggie Lawson from the show Psych, and she is nervous. At Shenanigans, Mason, played by Rob Kirkovich, a cook is trying his best to be cool without success. As the shift wears on, each employee faces his worst fears as Dennis tries to learn how to attract women, and next door, Calvin and Allison make self-discoveries. And this has the script, this has the same director who wrote and directed the first film, Ron McKittrick, and it does have some of the same actors back here. You have Andy Milonakis, Alana Ubach, Vanessa Langels, Luis Guzman, Chi McBride. So they do have a couple of names in here that you are very familiar with. But there's also a lot of names that are new to the series here that you are very familiar with. As I mentioned, John Michael Higgins, Adam Carolla has a cameo in here. Who else? Kirk Fox, Tanya Raimondi, Katie Albert, Danielle Harris, Janet Varney, who you know is the voice of Cora, Aaron Foster, Missy Pyle, David Koechner. David Koechner's back in this movie, too. I completely forgot about that. But, I mean, overall, it wasn't bad. But, like I said, kind of like with Van Wilder freshman year, it wasn't, and Spring Breakdown, too. It's not bad, but it's kind of unnecessary. There's really no reason to do a sequel to this unless you're getting the original cast back overall. Everybody in the original cast, like Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, and more of Justin Long in here. Which Justin Long shows up in here, but even he felt embarrassed in being in this movie, as he said later on in other interviews. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It just isn't a great film overall. It's just kind of a pointless sequel. Not the worst, not the best either. So there you go. Still waiting. So let's go ahead and move on to, what do I want to do next here? We're about halfway through here, so I'll save this one. I'll save the big one for the end here. Let's go to another direct-to-video sequel. This time from Universal, American Pie presents The Book of Love.
Rob, I want to have a little chat with you.
Do we have to?
I found the sock and the laundry.
Oh, jeez, Mom, put that away.
Are we on?
The times may have changed.
Rob, are we on for 7th period?
Oh, yeah.
But one thing remains the same.
Ooh, sounds like you might be in the market for some homegrown American beef.
Sorry, I'm vegan. Cheers.
American Pie.
This is the Bible. This thing goes back decades. This is our ticket.
They just found the playbook of their dreams.
We need to reconstruct the Bible. I'm in. All right. I'm in.
Now, to save it.
Hello?
Are you the one who created the Bible?
No, that would be God.
Yeah, the American Pie movies that came out on DVD are some that I should have covered on this show. I mean, it's one of those things. It's kind of like with the Land Before Time movies. I keep saying that I want to do a special episode dedicated to those movies in particular. I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do that as soon as I get done with the Time About the Movie specials that I've been doing, like the monthly specials, like, you know, specific months of every year. Right now, as of the time of recording this, I'm up to October of 2002, so I should be done with 2002 by the end of this week. So that means I still got about 5 weeks until we're all caught up on that front, but yeah, American Pie is something I want to do another episode. I want to do a full special on, too, because I have a lot to say about the direct-to-video sequels. But overall, most of them are not that great. I think the best one of the bunch was The Naked Mile, which was the second one that came out, but this is actually the second best one here. It takes place at East Great Falls High 10 years after the first movie, and the new protagonists are 3 brand new hapless virgins. One of them is Alfalfa from The Little Rascals. That's right, Bug Hall is the main kid in that movie. You have him, you have Nathan, and you have Lube, and one night Rob accidentally sets fire to the school library and finds the Bible, or the Book of Love. Mr. Levinstein, played by Eugene Levy's creation, and yes, he is in this movie as he is in most of the other direct-to-video sequels, but unfortunately for them, the book is ruined. The book has incomplete advice and embarks them on a helpless journey to lose their virginity. After trying and failing for most of the time, they pledge to restore the book, and to do this, they must find the original author of the book and all the other people who wrote on the book and start the restoration. So yeah, this was back when Eugene Levy, who really was the breakout star, was the most memorable thing to most people about those movies. I mean, most of the characters, yeah, but everyone, when you think of American Pie, you think of Eugene Levy, if you've ever seen those movies. But he was showing up in all these direct-to-video sequels, and like I said, he was just kind of being thrown in there for no particular reason, but there is stuff in there, but he was fine in those movies in particular. And this one is, like I said, one of the better ones. I think it mostly because it has more notable names in here, because you have not only Bug Hall, you not only have Eugene Levy, but you have Beth Bears from Two Broke Girls in the Neighborhood in one of her early film roles, Jennifer Holland, who's been a character actress in other movies, and also Rosanna Arquette is in this movie playing the mother of Bug Hall's character, and it's written by one of the writers of the American Pie movies, David Steinberg. So it does have a lot of more notable names in this movie. Sherman Hemsley is also in the movie, too. He has a cameo in here. There's also cameos from people like Kevin Federline, Dustin Diamond, C. Thomas Howell, Christopher Knight, Tim Matheson, Steve Railsback, Robert Romanus, Brett Michaels. They were all people who basically wrote in the book in general. You also have Curtis Armstrong in here. So they definitely have notable names in this movie compared to the other movies. And to me, that's what kind of makes it kind of more enjoyable than some of the other direct-to-video sequels that there are. This is one that was actually kind of good. There are some jokes that don't really work all that well. There's a joke where a moose is raping a guy, and it just feels kind of pointless, really. And then there's an old woman in a bordello joke that you can kind of see where it's going a mile away. But I do give it credit that it is trying to be more in line with the other American Pie movies, the first 3 American Pie movies, and it's definitely showing in this film. And, yeah, it's definitely one of the better entries in the series. But like I said, once I get through all these other videos I have planned and do the Land Before Time thing, I'm definitely going to go run through all these American Pie movies, because they definitely deserve to be... They definitely deserve a mention in their own specific videos. So I'm going to get to do that at some point down the line. But I wanted to cover American Pie Presents The Book of Love because, like I said, yeah, I saw it on the list, and it is one of the better movies in the series. So, in the direct-to-video series, I should say. So let's go ahead and wrap up the direct-to-video stuff here with more stuff from Warner Brothers and DC, of course, because we're in the crux of the DC Universe animated original movies, and we have 4 of them here. Actually, one of them is actually part of one of the big blockbusters of the year, but let's start with the first one I have here, and that is Kerry Russell starring as Wonder Woman.
Not polite to hit a lady.
Okay, but what if the lady is the one that's hitting you first? I mean, that should be something that should be brought up here. But anyway, Wonder Woman. This is basically kind of an origin story of Wonder Woman, where you have the Amazons defeating the war god Ares, played by Alfred Molina, and Zeus, played by David McCallum, charging them to hold him prisoner as eternally young warriors on the hidden island of Themyscira. Centuries later, U.S. Air Force pilot Steve Trevor, played by Nathan Fillion, is lured to crash land on the island, and the distraction of that trespass allows Ares to escape. In response, Princess Diana, Kerry Russell, wins the responsibility to both take Trevor home and recapture the fugitive god. Steve Trevor offers to help, and together this disparate pair must not only overcome Ares' efforts to achieve a bloody revenge, but also reconcile their own conflicting worldviews in an adventure that would be the first for the greatest of the female superheroes. So yeah, it's pretty much an origin story for Wonder Woman, and it has that unique animation style to it that really does make it stand out. And some really good direction from Lauren Montgomery, who did a lot of stuff for Superman Doomsday and Justice League The New Frontier. And of course, this is produced by the Bruce Timm team. And yeah, it's a really good movie. It gives Wonder Woman something to do. She isn't tossed around like a typical female character in an action movie. She's written as an important character in here, just as important as her male co-stars. And it's literally her movie. And it works because Kerry Russell really does a commendable job in it. I will say, though, I like Gina Torres' voice better. Like, to me, that sounds more like Wonder Woman. But then again, Russell does a very good job in here. And it gives her a chance to branch out in different roles where she's not just playing Felicity anymore. It's more similar to what she had done with The Americans shortly after this. Yeah, the cast also includes great performances by Nathan Fillion, Alfred Molina, Rosario Dawson, Mark Helgenberger, Virginia Madsen, Oliver Platt, John DiMaggio, Good action sequences all around. This is, of course, the same DC Universe team that's made a lot of really great stuff before. And it's all well put together. And it's just such a very, very solid film overall. And, hey, it worked later on in live action form. We're going to get to that when we get to 2017. But let's just say that this was probably one of the better Wonder Womans that we were going to get for a little bit here. Because I know David E. Kelly was doing the Wonder Woman show for NBC at the time. And when we finally got to see it, yeah, needless to say, it definitely didn't work out. But this works out pretty well enough on its own. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next one I have here. Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. A desperate solution for a troubled country. Lex Luthor for president with the Justice League in the service of the government. Only Batman and Superman stand against the new regime, and their disloyalty proves to be exactly what Luthor intended. Using their outcast status to instigate a scandal against Superman, Luthor finally tastes a victory in his vendetta against the Man of Steel. From executive producer Bruce Timm, and voiced by the cast from both Batman and Superman animated TV series, I lost track of the plot here. This DC Universe original animated movie of Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness' popular graphic novel seized with political intrigue and action-packed battle between heroes all believing they're on the right side of the law. And like it says in the synopsis, like, how can you go wrong with a movie that has Kevin Conroy back as Batman, Tim Daly back as Superman, and Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor? It's just like, you can't go wrong here. And you really can't. It's just great to hear these voices once again. Yeah, they don't look the same as they do in the animated series, but it still works. They all still work very well. The animation overall is a lot of fun. I like the fact that they bring in all these other superheroes, and they do get to fight Batman and Superman in this. It's just, they're really good, fun action sequences in this movie. It's just such a good, fun movie. If there's one thing I'll say that's kind of weak about it, the script overall really is nothing that spectacular or amazing. I mean, it's literally just Lex Luthor puts a bounty on Batman and Superman, and all the superheroes got to fight them. And then at the end, Lex and Batman have got to go save, Superman and Batman got to go save the day from Lex. And it's just like, you know where it's going to go and end up, and you know that neither Batman nor Superman are going to break their rule of killing people just to get revenge on Lex Luthor. I mean, it's a little too predictable, but at the same time, it's never a complete failure, not by a long shot. I mean, this is one of their best movies overall. Great action, great animation, great voice cast, great story overall. Needed a lot of work, though. It's a solid, fun ride, a really good movie. What more can you say? So with that said, on to the next one we have here, and that is Green Lantern First Flight. Basically, the same thing with Wonder Woman. It's basically the origin story that we would later see in the live-action movie. Unlike Wonder Woman, though, the one live-action Green Lantern movie was not great, but here you have Hal Jordan, played by Christopher Maloney, who accepts a mysterious, powerful ring from a dying alien creature, which transforms him into a Green Lantern, one of an elite force of heroes. These heroes patrol the universe to ensure peace and justice under the leadership of the Guardians of the Universe. Unsure of their new recruit, the Guardians assign Hal to the most honored Green Lantern, Sinestro, played by Victor Garber, for training, unaware that Sinestro wants to overthrow the Guardians and create a new order he'll control. It's a battle of might and willpower as Hal, I don't know why I have Hal there, must prove his worth by defeating Sinestro to save the Green Lantern Corps. And again, it's just like DC was putting these out there just months and months in advance. Like they were just like Wonder Woman came out in March, then this came out in July, and then Superman, Batman, Public Enemies came out in September. Like they were churning these out so quickly, and you would think as soon as they were doing that, it's just like, okay, the quality's going to go down, but it never really feels that way. And like this one, it does a very good job of telling the origin story of Green Lantern than the live-action movie did, and was more that was more cartoonish than the cartoon was. Like, think about that. But I mean, it's very clever at not making the whole focus of the film the actual origin story. It just happens during the end credits, and it makes sense because, again, kind of like with all these other superhero movies and shows that get rebirths, it's just like reboots. It's just like, there's no point of repeating the origin story for people that already know it going into it. Like, there's no reason to keep doing it over and over and over again. And you get a straightforward story about Green Lantern, you know, all Green Lantern lands already know about it, but with the Wonder Woman movie, you kind of expect that they at least explain who Wonder Woman was to new fans. With this, they do expect you to kind of know going in who Green Lantern is. That's kind of a flaw to the film overall, and, you know, newcomers to the series are really not going to know too much about it, per se, and want to know more about it, but overall, it is still a good movie. It's definitely one of the weaker of the three that I mentioned before. But again, a strong cast in here. You also have Tricia Helfer from Battlestar Galactica, Michael Madsen, John Larroquette, Larry Drake, Kurtwood Smith, Malachi Thorne. I mean, just another really good movie here. Definitely the weaker of the three, but still good enough to recommend it. So, with that said, on to the next film we have here, and that is Watchmen: Tales of the Black Freighter.
Celebrated graphic novel of our time, but inside this epic masterpiece, there is another legend that has yet to be told. Afflicted with the curse of the Black Freighter, but revenge would be mine.
So this is a story that, if you're not too familiar with the Watchmen graphic novel, this is actually something from the graphic novel. It was a fictional comic within the story, and it was adapted into a 26-minute direct-to-video feature that was later put out with another short that you see mentioned there, Under the Hood. But this was originally in the script for Watchmen, but it was later changed from live-action footage to animation because of the $20 million that would have cost to film in the same style of 300. That was what Zack Snyder wanted to do with it. So they basically took that and made it into an animated movie with Gerard Butler voicing the captain, and it having been promised a role in the live-action film that eventually never materialized. And in the story, a young mariner journeys to warn his hometown of the coming of the Black Freighter after he survives the destruction of his own ship. He uses the bodies of his dead shipmates as a makeshift raft and sails home, gradually descending into insanity. When he finally returns home to his hometown, believing it to be already under the occupation of the Black Freighter's crew, he makes his way to his house and slays everyone he finds there, only to discover that the person he mistook for a pirate was in fact his wife. He returns to the seashore, where he realizes that the Black Freighter had not come to claim the town, but rather to claim him. So it's that kind of a story where the true monster was not the monster they were looking for. It was actually him that was the real monster. And yeah, it is what you expect it to be, but it is a really impressively put together animated short. I mean, it reminded me a lot of when Clerks had that animated segment that they put back in when Dante and Randall go to the funeral for Julie, and they cut it out of the original movie, and then they reanimated it in the same style as the animated series. Like, this is what that feels like overall. It didn't feel like it was necessary to the story, but it is pretty cool to see that comic within the comic coming to life in movie form. I mean, granted, a small movie in general, but it works for what it is. I think it's actually a really good short. So yeah, not much more to say about that one, Tales of the Black Freighter. So with all that said, let's finally get to the last film that we have here, and that is easily the movie that should have been released in theaters 2 years ago, but Warner Brothers had no idea what they were thinking, so they said, ship it out on DVD, and let's not even put it out around Halloween. Let's put it out around Christmas, because we're the smart ones here. I'm starting to think that David Zaslav was not the only one making bad decisions at Warner Brothers in the last 20 years. This is Trick or Treat.
During the spookiest time of the year, there are a few guidelines all ghosts and goblins should follow. Always stay on sidewalks. Never go to a stranger's house. And never go out alone.
Sorts of things. Roam free. Sorry. All these traditions. Wait. What? You're supposed to keep it lit.
Why?
It's a tradition. Putting on costumes.
Only think I'm 5. You look great. What do we do now? We meet our dates.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Why are we here? To pay our respects to the dead? The Halloween school bus massacre.
Started to protect us, but
Oh gosh, no. Hiking buddies?
nowadays, I don't really care.
Just wants to live.
Okay, I misled you on that. Technically, this was released around Halloween. When I looked at the release date, it said December 9th, 2007. I misread that as December 9th, 2009. But no, that was when it was premiering at Button-Up-A-Thon in 2007. And then eventually made its DVD release in October of 2009. But no matter what, this thing was originally intended to be released in 2007. So much so that they had a trailer in front of 300, and they were teasing this as the big Halloween blockbuster for that year, and they just kind of pushed it back. And so eventually the film kept shuffling around and went to all these different festivals, like the Button-Up-A-Thon. They went to like the Scream Fest Horror Film Festival. It had a premiere at Graham's Chinese Theater. It went screened at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2009. And then finally it made its way to DVD in October of 2009 and eventually went on to become the cult classic that it has now become. Because, yeah, this is a film that has gone on to become a massive cult hit. And it's really hard not to see why. It's an anthology film where you have 4 Halloween horror stories with a comic element in them. A little trick-or-treat demon wearing orange footy pajamas with a burlap sack over his head named Sam. You have a story where you have a couple who are ending up their Halloween night, and there's this thing where you blow out the jack-o'-lanterns before midnight against the advice of it. And by doing that, you basically have created, it's part of a curse and all that. But then you have a principal who laces candy with cyanide, killing all the kids involved in there. Then there's the story about the Halloween school bus massacre. There's a story about Anna Paquin as this girl who's going out to a Halloween party dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood. And then it turns out it ends up being that they're all werewolves, which is really, really cool. I mean, the way that it completely comes out of nowhere, but it works. Like, this is, and then the last one you have one basically around Sam with this guy who's a curmudgeon played by Billy Connolly who just freaks the hell out of him and just messes with him and scares the living crap out of him. And it's just like, yeah, these are really damn good stories. Like, every single one of them works. They've got a lot of good talent involved in here. As I said, Anna Paquin's one of the leads in here. Brian Cox. I thought it was Billy Connolly. I think it's Brian Cox. See, I'm not doing my research well here, but you have Dylan Baker as the principal, Rochelle Ates as Maria, Leslie Bibb, I guess that's it. Britt McClip from Dead Over Me. I mean, there's a lot of big names in here, but Michael Dougherty, who of course is the guy that wrote Superman Returns and has gone on now to become a pretty solid director with the Godzilla movies, Godzilla and Kong. Bryan Singer was one of the main producers behind this. I mean, this is a really, really good Halloween movie. It's a good Halloween film. it doesn't feel like it's overselling it, overdoing it with the jump scares and all that type of stuff. No, every scare in here is really good, and the film has this aura and feel of Halloween. I mean, this is a movie that really should have been a movie that should have been released in theaters, but Warner Brothers had no idea how to sell it, and so they just dumped it onto DVD. But little did anybody know it would become the tradition of Halloween. Like, you go to Spirit Halloween now, at any place like Hot Topic or Spencer's during Halloween, and you see all the trick or treat stuff there. Like, you see these characters, you see the things from the movie. Like, this thing has had a lasting impact, where it has now become a central part of Halloween in general. And it's not hard to see why. It's a really damn good movie, and one that definitely deserves to be seen. It's a movie that is really good. I highly recommend checking it out this Halloween, because it is that good of a film. Trick or Treat, can't recommend it enough. Must see. And so there you go. That's every noteworthy movie from the 2000s I wanted to cover on this show. But next time around, we get to the first official releases for 2010, including Ethan Hawke starring in the vampire thriller Daybreakers, Amy Adams starring in a romantic comedy Leap Year, Michael Cera starring in a movie Youth in Revolt, and Tim Allen in Crazy on the Outside, where he's part of an ensemble cast. And yeah, those are the movies we're going to take a look at next time around. The first 4 official new movie release reviews for the 2010s. So that'll be coming up tomorrow on the show, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And hope you enjoyed the new format here. I know it's not really much of a major difference overall, just mostly in the intro, but wanted to try something new for the new decade ahead of movies here. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button if you want to see more videos like this, as well as our playlist, as well as the previous episode. Again, trying this out for the first time, so this format will kind of change a little bit as we go along here as I perfect this. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, I'll see you guys at the movies. Take care.